You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is Friday morning show. We pre-record this show to get Hansson Hindenburg a chance to get on here and talk about Baytown Tires, the Tire Pros expert. He's one of our sponsors of our show. He's across town from us. Everybody says, James, you're promoting another auto repair shop. I go, yeah, so big deal. There's room for everybody out there. Hansson, isn't that true? We don't need just to, everybody doesn't need to come just to me or to you. There's a lot of shops out there.
No, and I always say, make friends with the shop.
Yeah.
Have a relationship with them because you're going to have usually a long-term relationship with your car.
Yeah.
So you need to have a relationship just like hopefully you have with your doctor, any service professional. And so as soon as you call them, hey, how you doing? And they know exactly what you're looking for and what they can do for you.
Well, if I understand correctly, the average age of a car on the road today, Anna-Marie, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say it's 12 years old now.
That's pretty close.
7
years.
And people are keeping their cars a lot longer. Well, it's taking up to 7 years of financing on some cars out there. So
yeah, I've seen they'll do 8 to 10 years on some of these cars, which is a very long time.
Yeah, they got some big vans out there. We had Brian Armstead calling it yesterday, and he was talking about the Chrysler Pacifica. The loaded version, which is nothing more than a minivan, $50,000 for, can you imagine paying that off in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? That's a lot of money. But
$50,000 with kind of money that I make, probably 35 years.
You work for $2.98, don't you?
That's right.
We've been going into Project Democracy, the Supervisor's Elections Office has been doing this around local high schools, and I'll be doing Haney Technical Center today. But the thing is that they're talking about, they want to know about minimum wage. And they ask about what's the Libertarians' viewpoint, the Democrats' viewpoint, the Republicans' viewpoint, the Green Party's viewpoint. Well, the Democrats and the Greens, they think we ought to have a living minimum wage. The Republicans and the the Republicans and the Libertarians going, you know what, minimum wage is the reason we have higher unemployment. Minimum wage is because people are not able to work, especially minorities, because people won't hire them. The minimum wage actually discriminates against minorities. If I'm not mistaken, history proves that was the reason minimum wage was instituted, to block out minorities from able to get jobs years ago. I bet you didn't know that, did you, Hansson?
No, I did not.
It was actually instituted to keep minorities out of working. And like when I first went into business, I don't know about you, but the minimum wage was $1.25 an hour. They told me I wasn't worth $1.25 an hour, and they only paid me 75 cents an hour, and that was my entry-level job. After a year or so, I was making $1.50 to $2 an hour after I'd been working in that industry for a while. And I don't know about you, but I would love to be able to get someone an apprentice to come here and work and teaching the skill. But why do you want to pay someone $8, $9, $10 an hour that knows absolutely nothing?
Well, and that's a problem. We've talked about that before. We would love to have, a couple of apprentices as well, but unfortunately, you really can't afford to do it.
No, you can't.
And in our industry, you really need to have some, not only book knowledge, but also hands-on experience.
And both of them, absolutely.
We've had quite a few technicians who, studied at Haney and also took some other courses in automotive industry, but they don't feel that comfortable around the car in the shop environment. And really, that's what somebody who works on your car needs to feel comfortable with the car and the operation of the car, and also have a good bedside manner that he can communicate with you what the car is doing. And that's difficult. It takes time to come up with all those different ingredients to make a good technician.
You don't, like I said, I don't know how you started. I have no idea, but I know that I actually went to a garage and said, look, I'm only 16 years old. I know you're not supposed to, well, back then you could hire 16-year-olds. I said, I know you really don't need anybody, but I'll sweep the floors. I'll do whatever it takes. I want to learn how to fix cars. And they looked at me like I was from outer space going, people don't do that. And I said, well, I am. And I did that, and that's how I got into this industry. I've had people come to work for me wanting to, said, look, I'll just work for free. And I said, only if you get your parents' permission. They understand you're working for free, but that would be the only way I can do it. Even that is questionable.
Well, I looked at a study on the industry just this week. It was in one of the trade magazines, and most of the technicians are 50 plus.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it really, and we should have a large number of people in the 18 to 30 range is shrinking. And that's terrible. That we don't have technicians coming up, understanding what it means to work in a shop environment.
I don't know why. I think, I don't know if it's because of minimum wage. People, won't hire them.
Some of the reasons were people don't like to get their hands dirty.
That's true.
That much. That was one of the reasons that they asked some of, younger kids saying, hey, well, it's kind of a greasy, dirty environment. And they believe that it's not really a career path.
What were you going to say, Anna?
So I was going to say, so they think they get their hands dirty. Well, my technicians wear gloves when they get into dirty jobs, so I don't. That's just a cop-out.
Yeah, well, it is in a way, but it's hard work. I mean,
it can be. It's hard and hot, but it's very satisfying when you fix a car. You got a finished product that has value.
I agree 100% with Anna Marie, and that's why I've stuck with this, industry so long. Is that you can have a car that's not running, and in 24 hours, all of a sudden, it's somebody's pride and joy again.
Isn't that amazing? We have them come in all the time. And what's amazing part is we have cars that are, not the newer cars, the OBD1 cars before the computers were which tell you which cylinder's not misfiring and all that. And they'll come into our shop and they'll go, the other shops in town don't know how to work on these. And I go, why is that? And they go, they say they're too old. They can't figure out what's wrong with them. And I go, well, I guess that's where the old people come in because we know a little bit how to work on them. But
old like you and Hansson?
Well, like me and Hansson. We understand. We understand the suck, squeeze, bang, blow of a 4-cycle engine. That almost sounded pornographic when I said that. But the 4-cycle engine of pulling in the air, compressing the air, banging the air, igniting it into a power stroke, and then pushing it outside. We understand how all that works and how it works together. And we learn every day, but a lot of people don't realize the intricacies and what you have to know just to be able to make a car run. I've had cars come in with spark, I've had cars come in with fuel, I've had cars come in with the timing right, and they still wouldn't run. And I know what's wrong with them, but I ain't going to tell my guys. And they go, why won't you tell us? I said, because it's obvious. And they'll scratch their head, and and I'll say, go. And finally, after about an hour, I said, go back there and feel the exhaust. And they'll crank the car and nothing's coming out of the exhaust. I said, I think you found your problem. And, something like that. You and I both know that, Hansson. We've seen it where they'll have spark, but it won't be hot enough. Or it'll have fuel pressure, but it won't be enough fuel pressure. Or it'll have fuel pressure, be too much fuel pressure, flooding it out. These are the things that comes with experience that are very gratifying that you learn.
And you're right. There's a lot of times what we see nowadays, a lot of technicians are very sophisticated. And they always want to go to the hardest problem first. And we really have to start in the beginning and kind of eliminate some of the things that it potentially is not.
Yeah, it's the same whether it's a brand new car or it's an old car. You've got to have spark, you've got to have air, you've got to have fuel, and you've got to have mechanics right. If all those things are right and the car should run, then you're overlooking something very basic. We had a car come in the other day. One car came in, it wouldn't run because the coil would spark, but it would only throw fire about 1/4 of an inch. It wouldn't throw it far enough. It wasn't hot enough spark. And it'd been to 3 shops. I'm serious, Hansson, 3 shops, and they just threw their hands up. But they'd think they'd get it fixed. They'd put a part on it. They'd think they'd get it fixed. It'd run for a while, and it'd get towed in. Finally, AAA brought it to us, and they said, this is the 3rd shop. Find out what's wrong with it. Come to find out, bad coil. This is some things that I guess a lot of people don't pay attention to because they see spark, they think, okay, I got spark. But really, it has to have a hotter spark than people think. It's got to throw fire at least 1/2 inch if you pull off a spark plug.
Well, and we see that something as simple as sometimes not even putting the right spark plug in.
Isn't that the truth?
I had this car tuned up here, and it just doesn't seem to be running like it used to. Yep. You put the correct spark plug in there, and it runs like brand new. That's my phone going off. It sounds like. What is your viewpoint on putting in spark plugs? I mean, a lot of people have a different viewpoint on that. I can tell you what mine is. Ours is whatever the car called for is what we put in there, because we sure pull out a lot of spark plugs that aren't made for that engine. Well, that's what we see a lot too. And sometimes these guys want to buy. I shouldn't mention names,
Split fire.
but
Split fire.
these spark plugs that have some kind of fancy diode
Yep.
in it or something like that, and they it's supposed to be iridium 55 million mile spark plug, and that's just not the right plug. Like you said, we try to stick with whatever the manufacturer calls for and put that exact same plug back in there.
And
period.
Yeah, absolutely. I have more cars that come in with General Motors engines that didn't call for platinum plugs. They put platinum plugs in
Right.
there, and they come in with misfires, and they just don't understand why. And I said, first off, we got to get rid of these plugs. They're platinum. Well, the manufacturers, the parts store said they'd fit. I said, yeah, they'll fit, but they don't mean they're going to work correctly. The car was not designed for platinum plugs. It was designed for conventional plugs. Put the conventional plugs back in.
Right. The resistance is completely different from one to the other.
And it makes a difference on the spark. But you and I see that. But that's what's so satisfying about this job is, in my opinion, is instant gratification. You see you got a problem. You think you know what the problem is. You can go in there, correct that problem real quick, either whatever it is. And then if it works, you know immediately. There's no guesswork. You don't have to wait a month to find out if it works. You know if you've got it fixed. Now, there are some cases out there, those intermittents, that sometimes will bite you in the hiney. But, those are few and far between, but they do happen.
They do happen, yes.
They do happen out there. But if people want to know more, we got about 2 minutes left here. I just want to make sure I let you know. I know that y'all do tune-ups. I know y'all do drivability studies. You do tires. You do alignments. Y'all do brakes. Y'all do everything. Y'all do coolant exchanges.
Well, we try to make sure that whatever we do, we can do to the best of our ability. Some of the things that you do, we can't do, like reprogramming and things like that. Whatever we do, which is, quite a bit, we want to make sure that we can do it completely and do it to manufacturer's specs. So if there's something that we can't do, we defer to you or somebody else.
Well, then that's the same thing. There's certain things you do, like alignments. I don't do alignments here at my shop. We do front-end work. We do lots of that, but I don't have a front-end alignment machine because they get rather expensive. Don't you have to calibrate them all the time now and keep them up?
Well, we do, and it's gotten better. They can do a lot over the internet now. So,
Boy.
We get new programming weekly. They actually can check, if all of the components are working correctly. And like you said, they can realign even through the internet. They check it, make sure that everything is 100%.
That is why I don't have
money too.
That's why I don't have one, because it's constantly. That's why we do reprogramming. Hey, Hansson, we got to go. Thank you so much for calling. We'll talk to you. Get that phone.
Have a great week.
I'll talk to you next week. Bye bye, everybody. Hey, this is James Morris. If you got a car question, I got Mark Sarlo calling. We'll be getting him on the line next in a few minutes. He's calling from La Junta, Colorado, and we usually talk about drivability, gas, oil, antifreeze, fluids, cleaning valves, cleaning injectors. Things that you might be interested in. If you've got a direct injection engine, you may want to know about how you can buy a tune-up in a can, I call it. That's about the closest thing I can call it, is where you actually spray something down the throttle to keep the car from building carbon deposits up on the intake valves, which causes misfires and causes drivability problems and can get rather expensive. Those are some of the things we talk about. So if you're interested in maintaining your car, keeping it on the road for years and years and years to come, give us a call, 850-763-0555, or just listen.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.